a statement released from the White House briefing room this afternoon, President Biden engaged in a conversation with Palestinian Authority President Abbas. During their discussion, President Biden strongly denounced the brutal attack on Israel by Hamas and reaffirmed that Hamas does not represent the aspirations of the Palestinian people for dignity and self-determination. President Abbas, in turn, provided an update to President Biden regarding his regional involvement and his ongoing efforts to provide essential humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian population, especially in Gaza. President Biden conveyed his unwavering support for these crucial initiatives by President Abbas and the Palestinian Authority. Furthermore, President Biden and President Abbas deliberated on U.S. initiatives to collaborate with various parties, including the United Nations, Egypt, Jordan, and Israel, to ensure the delivery of humanitarian supplies to civilians in Gaza. In their conversation, President Biden also outlined the United States' efforts to coordinate with its allies to prevent the escalation of the conflict, emphasizing the importance of maintaining stability in the West Bank and the broader region. In a separate report from Reuters, it was confirmed by a U.S. State Department spokesperson that 29 U.S. citizens have tragically lost their lives in Hamas attacks in Israel. Previously, the death toll stood at 27 during the ongoing violence. The spokesperson indicated that the U.S. government was actively working to locate 15 U.S. citizens and one lawful permanent resident who remained unaccounted for, with around-the-clock efforts to determine their whereabouts. The United States was collaborating closely with the Israeli government on all aspects of the hostage crisis, including the sharing of intelligence as noted by the spokesperson. Additionally, CNN reported that Israel was warning of a new phase in its conflict with Hamas, with Israeli forces preparing for potential significant ground operations following a week of intense airstrikes in Gaza. The mass evacuation of civilians from northern Gaza, in response to the ongoing hostilities, was raising concerns from various United Nations agencies. They warned that the conditions of siege could lead to a humanitarian disaster, particularly affecting vulnerable groups such as the elderly and pregnant women. Israeli airstrikes during the evacuations resulted in casualties, with 70 deaths and 200 injuries, according to Hamas's media office. Moreover, Palestinian medical services and civil defense teams were reportedly targeted during a rescue operation in northern Gaza. The Rafah border crossing, the only passage not controlled by Israel, was closed on Saturday, potentially hindering the entry of humanitarian aid and foreign nationals looking to leave. Canada's attempt to evacuate its citizens from Gaza through the Rafah crossing was cancelled due to violence, as stated by Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Melanie Joly. Egyptian Foreign Minister Sameh Shoukry suggested that foreign nationals could cross the border if certain protocols were followed on the Gaza side, but he also noted that Israeli aerial bombardment had made roads on the Gaza side inoperable. The conflict had been ongoing for a week since the unprecedented and deadly attack by Hamas on Israel, leading to the capture of civilian and military hostages believed to be held in Gaza. This attack was compared to Israel's 9/11, with heavily armed Hamas fighters entering Israeli towns, kibbutzim, and army bases. In response, Israel imposed a complete siege on Gaza, which included blocking access to food, water, and fuel, while conducting extensive airstrikes on the enclave. International observers expressed concerns that this cutoff would result in the suffering and death of Gaza civilians due to starvation, disease, and lack of medical care. According to the Palestinian Ministry of Health, at least 2,215 Palestinians, including 724 children, had been killed in Gaza from Israeli airstrikes. The situation had overwhelmed hospitals, with some using ice cream trucks as makeshift morgues due to overflowing mortuaries. On a military note, the IDF reported that it had conducted airstrikes on operational headquarters used by Hamas militants, resulting in the death of the head of the Hamas aerial system in Gaza City, who was claimed to be a key figure in directing terrorists during the previous week's attack on Israel.